This is Mile High.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought.
because love is my first technique.
It's now time for the show.
Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles, and I'm coming from 5,280 feet in Colorado, and we are doing an exciting Mile High episode here across the pond with Melissa Sandford, and I'm grateful to welcome her as a guest on our podcast. If you are listening to this on iTunes, I highly recommend that you subscribe, or if you're listening to on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you might be finding this episode, we'd like to have you not miss an episode. And also mark your calendar for Mile High, August 16th to 19th. We look forward to seeing you rise up also and join us, and you can register at www.milehighchiro.org. And our guest today, Melissa Sandford, she's the Executive Advisor and Events Coordinator at the United Chiropractic Association out in the UK. And I am very grateful for all the work you do for chiropractic and for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
And let's start off with something that you mentioned. That you mentioned to me, which was you were honored by Liam Schubel in the top 33 of influencers in chiropractic. And so here's the question: how does someone who is not a chiropractor get to make chiropractic their life, and then also be acknowledged as a key influencer in the chiropractic profession?
Well, that's a great question. I think for me, chiropractic changed my life in many, many ways, not just from my health perspective, but from professionally, friendships, the way I've raised my children, many, many, many ways. And, I love it with every inch of my being. So for me, there's no greater place to be than in chiropractic. So, I've been in it for 25 plus years, and I still think we got a ton to do. So I'm excited.
Well, we do have a ton to do. We have a ton to do around the world, so that's very well said. And so 25 years, where did you get your start in chiropractic so people get to know you better? Because many people listening to this probably may not know you.
Yeah, I met a chiropractor. I was actually a school teacher, and every summer holiday I would go traveling with a girlfriend. And I was traveling one summer and met a group of chiropractors and backpackers. And fast forward 2 years, I was married to him, and I started having care. So really, I didn't have any aches or pains or bumps or any of those sorts of things. But he just started adjusting me, as you do, right?
Yeah.
And I gladly accepted, and he's telling me all about chiropractic philosophy. I'm not really listening, and but I had big changes in my health. I would have probably put my health at an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 probably. I considered myself a pretty fit and healthy 23-year-old, but I had suffered from chronic rhinitis, bronchitis, lots of ears, nose, throat stuff, from the age of 14, 15, right up until I was 23. And all of those things went away after getting adjusted. And so it was over a period of time I noticed that myself. I then was, tagged along to a bunch of seminars, as you do when you're a chiropractic spouse. And then I started working in a chiropractic office. So it was also the experience of working for a chiropractor who wasn't my husband. I went and worked in another office, which is another long story we don't have time for, but it was actually him. His name was Mark Nevin, and it was him and also the chiropractor my husband worked for, Suzanne Herringslake. They were major influences on me from a philosophical standpoint. They really taught me about chiropractic and living a chiropractic principled life. And once I got that, there was just no going back for me.
Awesome. And you obviously highly involved with the United Chiropractic Association out there. Tell us, for the people that are listening to this, because people listen to this and download this around the world, a little bit about what's going on in chiropractic in the UK.
Wow. So the United Chiropractic Association is the youngest organisation. Been going for around 15, 16. I keep thinking it's 10 years, but it's a lot longer. Feels like I've been there 10 years, but it's a lot longer. So yeah, really it's closer to 17 years. We've been sort of, bumbling along. We started as a very small group of chiropractors. I wasn't part of that initial group, but I was sort of around, I knew it was bubbling. And it was a group of chiropractors that was dissatisfied with the direction of the major organisation that existed here. And they were looking to create a group that was truer to the vitalistic principle. So not necessarily a straight group or a wellness group or this group or that group, just really protecting the chiropractic principles. So that's how it started. It's been a very slow organic growth. We don't really get access through schools to students or any of those sorts of things. We've really grown our association through creating a community, putting on great seminars. We run, the largest seminars in the UK and probably across Europe. And I think it's through those things that we've been able to educate the chiropractic community over here towards a vitalistic model. But I would say that our association really is quite broad spectrum. We do have people that practice in a very sort of pain-based mechanistic model to those that are right over here on the vitalistic spectrum. So for me, what I'm passionate about is finding a place for all of those people that they can call home, without judgment, and that we're, getting people to provide chiropractic care that's safe and ethical for their communities, because that's really what we should be doing, right?
Right, absolutely. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And I will tell you, chiropractors in general, they have something so valuable to give, as you know, as we all know, and they need a place that they can feel comfortable, they can feel welcome with, that they feel like home. I always say that at Mile High, I always say welcome home, and that they have to feel like this is, wherever I am on the spectrum, I really value the foundational chiropractic principles, and I want to be even closer to them, and I want to feel like I can grow in that without being shunned or faulted or any of that stuff, but really be welcome and allowed to have our own journey of growth, because everybody's different.
Yeah, absolutely. And also too, it is a journey, some students come out of college. Well, I think most students come out of college and they're confused, some will go in with an idea that then is challenged. Yeah. And then they're confused, or some will go in with no idea, then get an idea, and then come out and think that idea wasn't right. So, there's a lot of confusion when you come out, unless you get a really good job first off and you've got a great mentor. There's even more confusion, and then you go to this conference and you hear about this guy doing these amazing things in his practice, and you're sitting there thinking, I am terrible. I'm not doing any of that, and I'm never going to be that. And so there's all this crazy stuff that goes on in the profession, and I would like to see that we try and mend that gap. Absolutely. I love it. One other thing that you said as your favorite quote, and I love this quote, and I want to find out why it's your favorite and what you like about it, which is that your soul is rooting for you. I think most people are living a disconnected life, and for me, chiropractic really is about the expression from the inside out. And as a society, we live outside in, and aside just from chiropractic, I think just generally in all our lives, if we were able to live more inside out in everything that we do, and we listen to our core or our soul or whatever you want to call it, and we are connected with that. For me, what the quote means is that you're championing for yourself. You're your own champion. And I just don't think we listen to this often enough. And when we do and we're connected with it, then, it is really fighting for you, Yeah, and I say something in our practice when we train our team on a certain value, which is one of our core values of our office, or practice member care, is that people aren't, as patients, right, are incredibly disconnected.
And we always tell, sometimes they're the easy patients, and there's sometimes the not so easy ones, the difficult ones. And they need just as much love. And we always say, remember to see the inner champion. And chiropractors have to connect with their inner champion too.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, some of the things that you had mentioned to me that you see, that I see in the U.S., I'm sure it's, same thing in the U.K., chiropractors having a lack of success. They have the most valuable healing art on the planet in their hands. What are the things you think have you seen in your 25 years in chiropractic and being at lots of seminars, running lots of seminars, and seeing people on the whole gamut that separates people that are maybe more impactful than less impactful? What gets in the way of success in practice?
You being the chiropractor, or any individuals. I think there's too much focus on what the practice looks like and what procedures are in place and how pretty the uniforms are and the name badges and the sign outside, and all that stuff's important. But unless you own it in here, unless you believe in you and you believe in chiropractic and the expression of yourself in your office, unless it's really, really, truly connected to your core, patients feel that disconnect and you just don't vibrate in the way that you should. And that to me is what suppresses your success. I've been in chiropractors' offices that are really, really busy, and painting's a bit chipped on the wall, there's a scratch in the table, things could be a little plusher than they are. But it's the spirit of who they are, and It's their ability to communicate the message, and that's what people want. Right. People are buying you, and they're buying your congruency, and they want to know you're good, and you have to vibrate that. I'm good and I can help you. That's what people want, that level of confidence.
Absolutely. I knew there was a reason why Liam put you in the top 33, which is, I fully say the same thing to people and teach them that. And yes, all those things are important. The paint and the color and things should be as flush as possible and all, and look nice. But if you're missing this, none of that matters. Well, it doesn't go as far. We could say that. Yeah. And then here you are, you're in a area where there's 4 chiropractic schools in the UK, right? So this is a high density of chiropractic relative to Europe, and yet, just like we see in the US, there's a lot of lack of belief in chiropractic or confusion over what chiropractic is. How do we help people shift that?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. I think we need to have better outreach for new graduates. I think that's part of it. I think we need to somehow create a way of nurturing them in a way that they're not being nurtured. We as an organisation sponsor students to come to our events. They don't pay very much at all. And in fact, at our large event, we sponsor buses to get them there. We pay for accommodation to get them there, and we do that through donations of chiropractors. So I think that's throwing money at it is part of it. But I think it's really being available to students and mentoring them and connecting with them and helping them in that way. But I see a lot of young students coming out just choosing the wrong jobs. They're choosing jobs because they want to live in the city, or they're choosing jobs because they want, to be near their girlfriend. Hello, back in our day, you saw out that chiropractor that you saw something in, that you felt that connection with, and you went and worked for them, even if it meant you had to drive 4 hours to go and see your girlfriend on the weekend. Right. You just did that. But that's not happening so much anymore, and so they just pick these jobs based on how much money, whether I'm going to be able to get my latte every afternoon. They're not choosing those core values, and so they're then not being mentored and learning correctly when they come out. And then they're lost.
Yeah, and that's true in other professions as well. People used to pick their, job, their role, who they wanted to work for based on who they thought was going to get them the furthest, get what they wanted, be in alignment with what they wanted to do. versus maybe where they wanted to live or those kinds of things, like a bigger picture. And that's so important because then you get more aligned with your core values. And align with core values, no pun intended, is crucial to be a successful chiropractor.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So-
even more so,
Right.
more so, because you've got a philosophy lumped in with your job. It's not like you're just going and filling out tax forms if you're going off to be an accountant, right?
Right.
It's an art, science, and a philosophy, and we forget about those things.
Right. Absolutely. And so what are some of the things that the UCA is doing or up to that you're super excited about?
I think we're currently like in a really big growth phase in the sense that we were small for a long time, and then we had a leap and we had a leap and we had a really big leap a couple of years ago, particularly with our events and our membership. And I think we're at the process now of just figuring out how we can best serve our members. I think that's our focus for the next year. We're looking at really how can we maintain a community, because when you go from a small group to a larger group, sometimes you can lose that sense of community. And so we're just trying to look at ways that we can provide more opportunities for our members to stay connected as a group. That's something exciting that's sort of come up for us. Maintaining legislation and, there's the complaint thing goes on. I don't know how bad it is in the States, but, people are afraid of the regulator here. And I'm particularly passionate about, trying to dispel that fear, because regulation exists. And at some point in your career, you're probably going to have a complaint, and it's just a process, and we need to not be fearful of our regulators. And how we stay away from being not fearful of that is by being ethical and safe in practice and following the rules.
Yep.
If you sign up to rules, you've got to follow them.
And when you get a license, you sign up to certain rules.
Yeah.
by the virtue of having a license.
Yeah. Whether you agree with them or not is not the issue. You've
Right.
signed up to them, so
Right.
you've got to abide by them. So we're looking more at trying to help chiropractors practice the principle but maintain standards, ethical standards within
Right.
the profession. I think that's what I'm kind of excited about. And also providing, like I said, this gap between student and first, second, third year grads, providing learning opportunities for them that are inexpensive and attainable for them in terms of, wherever they're located, so that they can help process that time period from student to practitioner.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned one other thing that I'd like to touch on, which I don't know what it is. So I'd like to know what it is. The Circle of Fire and the Clarity Sessions, what are those? Those sound so exciting.
So the Circle of Fire is a fairly new initiative. There's 5 women, myself, Lynn McAvenia, Farah Zia, Lizette Fofa, and Astrid Mueller, 2 chiropractors and 3 non-chiropractic women. And we have created the Circle of Fire, and it's an initiative where we meet. We've met 3 times, and we're a group of women. We only take women, 32 women, and we spend a weekend together. And it's really looking at letting go of stuff you might be holding on to in your life. Developing self-esteem and power. I think, particularly for chiropractic women, and I see this very much, is that you come out of school and you then get married, go off and have kids, and then you come back into practice, and it's just more difficult. You lose your focus, and I think they lose their way a little bit. And the other thing I think happens with female chiropractors is this belief that they can't adjust like the big guys, or they can't crunch the big numbers. And there are women that do it. Don't get me wrong, and I'm aware of that. But they are in the minority. And so there is, we don't see so many women on stage, all these sorts of things. And I put people on stage, and I'm aware that part of the reason there aren't women on stage is because there aren't a lot of them, and I probably won't get liked for saying that, but it is true. So really the goal is to empower women to step up, because I think the larger problem is just that they're not stepping up. And stepping into their power and remembering who they are. So we started it, and the money we raise from it, we then give to a charity, a children's charity, which we've given to NALU. And then recently we're giving to another charity called Little Fro, which has been started by a chiropractic kid. Well, she's not a kid anymore. She's a woman in Australia. She has a charity where she builds education facilities for children in remote Nepal. So it's kind of got a little bit of a giving aspect to it, chiropractic focused, self-esteem, but it's just taken off. We literally stuck it on Facebook. We were full like that. We had to do another event. We filled it like that. We've done another one. We filled it like that. We've got people asking for it. So it's really exciting.
And that is important. You hit a very important nail on the head about stepping up, because and maybe it's different in the UK, but in the US, the attendance in chiropractic school of women is significantly on the rise. There's more and more women enrolling in chiropractic school. In fact, some schools, it's now the majority of the attendance, which I don't know if that's the case in the UK, but there's a couple where we've hit the tipping point where it's 51% female. And so females stepping up to be leaders, to get on stage, to speak, to excel in practice. They do need to be empowered to do that and encouraged, and they can do it. There's no reason why they can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's just believing in themselves and us believing in them.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a two-way street. I agree. Right. It's good that you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's so exciting that you're doing that. I'm so thrilled that people join together to do that. Well, I'm looking forward to coming out to the UK soon. I love getting out there, and I look forward to seeing more chiropractic thrival in the UK. I think it really needs it. In terms of students getting, the students are the future of chiropractic. So plugging them into things like the UCA programs and other vitalistically focused programs is vital. So, so thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Any other last things that you want to say for chiropractors, especially in the UK or around the world, that might be watching or listening to this?
No, just, I'm really excited to have you on board with us at CE at the end of the year. I think you're going to love it. It's a great event. We had 600 plus people there last year, looking to grow it even more. Awesome. So, if you're listening to this and you're, not sure if you want to come to CE or not this year, then, do it. And not just for the seminar. It's about making a stand and hanging with your peeps.
Yep.
Because it's important. I hear this too much. Well, should I go? I've got my CPD. It's like, that's not why we hang.
Right.
It's so that you keep the vibration up there and you're being with your people, because we're different.
Yep. Absolutely. And when is that program so people watching can mark their calendars?
So the CE one in October is the last weekend in October, 27th, 28th, or 28th, 29th. God, I should know that, shouldn't I?
Well, let's make sure people get there. Let's make sure people get there. That's exciting. And thank you for all you do and you give. And now you have a child going to chiropractic school. Am I correct?
I have two. My eldest daughter is there, and my next son, and maybe
New
four
Zealand,
more.
correct?
See. No, they're both in Australia, actually.
Okay, awesome. Very good, very good. Well, we are so grateful. Thank you for all you do for chiropractic, and thank you for your time. And again, if you're listening to the Mile High podcast, make sure to subscribe and clear your calendar. Join us in the center of the U.S. as we rise up to a mile-high altitude, and join us at Mile High August 16th to 19th, www.milehighchiro.org. See you there. Like our page on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Mile High Chiro.